want to talk today about knee movement during the swing, and in this video we're going to have a look at what the left knee does. So first of all, with setup, there's a couple of things to check to begin with. At address, when I look from down the line here, my lower leg's leaning forward a little bit and the front of my knee is about level with the end of my laces, obviously depending on how far the laces go down your shoes. When I look from front on, my hip, knee and ankle are all in line, so I'm not setting up knock-kneed or anything like that. So I should feel at address that my balance is even on both feet, even sort of toe to heel. So I should feel quite flat-footed, yet because my knees are flexed, I'm grounded and I'm ready for movement. I'm not going to move far in a golf swing, I'm going to turn, but I still need to have that sense of balance, which is going to be critical for my movement. In the golf swing, before I actually explain it, let's say someone to my right calls me and I turn to look at them, my hips will turn, and as my hips turn, my knees are going to move a little bit. Because my feet don't move, my knees have to move. So I've got a little bit of movement at my ankles, a little bit of movement at my knees and at my hips as I rotate. So what we're about to talk about is being a bit more specific about how we work from a golf perspective, but we don't want to sort of over complicate it, I guess. So when I'm setting myself up, my hips are tilted forward a little bit and my knees are flexed. So from side view there, you can see my hips are actually tilted forward. When I rotate in the backswing, my hips are going to turn pretty much on the plane of my hip turn or the way my belt is. So as I go back, my right hip is a little bit higher than my left at the end of the backswing. So as I'm turning back, we can see here that my right hip is a bit higher than my left. Now because my hip height is different at the end of the backswing, my right knee will have straightened just a little bit. So as I go back, right knee straightens, but more importantly, because we're focusing on the left, we see my left knee actually is going to move in a little bit. So my left knee, when I swing back, is sort of pointed just inside my shoe here. Now, a lot of players, when they swing back, try and keep their knees steady or hips steady, and we see a lot of tracking of this left knee forward. Now, when I do that, my hips are now moving in toward the ball. So I'm going to be off balance, I'm not centered, and I definitely don't get any pressure shifting to the right foot appropriately. So as I go back, if you watch my knee where it is in relation to my shaft there, so as I turn back to the top of the swing, we can see my knee now is pretty much touching the shaft. So my knee's it might get to about my toe line. I'm definitely not looking to keep it straight, nor am I looking to extend it or bend it a long way forward. So there's a little bit of almost semicircular movement with my left knee there. So if you watch and your knee either tracks forward, or with some players the knee actually tracks this way in the backswing, then that's first point of intervention to make your lower body movement better, and of course that's going to influence upper body and arms and club. From the top of my swing, as the club starts to swing down, my hips are moving forward and my body starts to rotate. So there'll be a point roughly when my hands are about chest height, maybe a little bit lower than that, when my lower body is almost in the same position as it was at address. In other words, it's square. There may be a fraction more knee flex at this point, but it's not going to be a whole lot different to where I was at address. Now, that first movement of the hips where they go forward a little bit, so now my left leg is vertical. So my ankle, my knee and my hip joint are all in line here. So my knee's still bent, but from here, as I swing through, that left leg is straightening. But it's straightening without sliding one way or the other, and it's straightening and keeping that alignment with the ankle, the knee and the hip together. So my left leg in the downswing becomes my pivot post. So if I play a shot for you, so from here you'll see just watching the left knee movement. So in the downswing I can turn cleanly around that left knee. So your checks are, have a look at what movement you've got with that left knee in the backswing. If it's tracking forward or tracking out, then work to allow it to just move in a little bit. You don't have to have massive knee movement. If you're, depending on your range of flexibility, if the knee comes in and the foot's pulled up off the ground, that's okay, as long as it's only, ideally only a little bit. If you've got the flexibility to keep that foot on the ground as the knee moves correctly, then keep it there. The downswing movement's more important. That's where I tend to see more issues with players not allowing that left knee to move correctly and straighten properly. So focus on that as well. You'll find that your downswing movement and your impact will become a lot sharper once you start to get that knee movement much more correct.